Welcome to Off the Post, powered by Lights On Electric and Coverall Exteriors. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Anthony Mingione. And how are you?
I'm actually really excited today. Very excited.
Okay, that's good. I'm just getting over a cold, so I'll do as much as I can to be excited. And we have Michael Jello. Mike, how are you?
Well, this is one of the better shows because we have Russ outnumbered 3-1. Paisans 3, Jews
Yeah.
1.
Yeah, that was like my neighborhood where I grew up on Long Island, so there's really no difference there. And we have special guest Andy Petrillo from CBC and Amazon Prime. Andy, how are you?
I'm great. Yes, I didn't realize it was the Paisans here.
Yes.
So we might venture into some other conversation. Who knows?
Hey,
Maybe
if you want to have food talk, we could do that.
could always do that.
Could always do that. But let's talk about the Olympics, because I'm going to tell you, on this show and other shows that I do, I had worries about the rink in Milan Cortino for like over a year. And anytime I would do like a Google map search or Google Earth, and I had a friend that was living there and then moved back to the States, you couldn't get much. But CBC Saskatchewan did a great piece a couple of weeks ago and showed how like the parking lot's not even done. There's holes in the roof. There's probably no seats. And now the NHL is going over there with a contingent. And what do you think's going to happen?
I have no clue, but from experience hosting Olympics and being on location for a number of them, this is pretty much status quo. I mean, we always hear about the athletes' village isn't going to be done in time, the hotels, like this venue, that venue. We always hear it, and yet the Olympics always happen. That isn't to say there's not going to be that one where it's like the warning signs were there, should have done something. So that's why I'll always leave the door open for something bad happening. But the past has always shown me that there's always been worries heading into an Olympics, and they always happen to happen. However, I will say where my concern is the fact that they won't be able to get in a test game, because those test events matter. That's where the athletes can hold. Obviously, they don't do this in hockey, but in other winter sports, bobsleigh, luge, even skating, like you name it, there's always some sort of World Cup event, some sort of world championship. And the test event matters because that's where the athletes can give their feedback. You know, this course is too short.
So how are you going to feel if it's the women's team that are like the test subjects? I feel like that's unfair, but it might work out that way.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't read. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I wouldn't read too much into it's the women versus the men, because that's just how the schedule happens.
No, I get it. I'm just saying they're the ones. That's just,
they're going to be the ones. So they're going to see if like the soft is if the ice is too soft, if there are ruts, if there's any kind of flooding. Unfortunately, yeah, like the women are going to kind of be the testers in this sense in a game that matters, because it's going to be in the preliminary round of the Olympics. That's why I am like more concerned than I have been in the past with certain things, because they just won't be able to get in a game. But is it still going to be ready for the Olympics and they're going to be able to play? Sure. And I would also hope that they have the people on hand. They should have the people on hand to rectify things as quickly as possible. I mean, Italy has hosted many winter sporting events. Like I would hope they have the right type of ice resurfacing. They would have the right type of people who have worked with ice on major, whether it has been luge or bobsleigh or those types of tracks anyways, as well as, you know, hockey, because they've also hosted figure skating.
Like, how do we know they're going to have the 3 chillers that you need? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do we know that?
That's it. Well, the thing, so I was there in 2018 in Milan for like World Figure Skating Championship. So they have the ability to have proper ice. That's, you know, they do have that, but it really, like at the end of the day, it really is anyone's guess. But I will say again, like all these stories of catastrophe and chaos and everything's going to fall apart and we're going to get bombed and we're going to get Zika, which by the way, these are things I talk about in my book, where it's always doom and gloom heading into Olympics. And then yet everyone starts wearing the maple leaf with pride and off we go. The games happen.
At least the food will be good.
It sure will.
Yeah, exactly. Andy, you were part of a particularly fascinating game on Saturday. I mean, this is obviously a hockey show, but I have to ask you, what was it like covering that icicle kick game in Ottawa? It just looked bonkers watching all that.
I have frozen my butt off a handful of times, events that I've been covering, and I can't believe that 2 of them have been covering soccer. Like I've been in a polar vortex in Calgary covering snow rodeo, like ski half pipe, snowboard slope style. I've been in minus 56 weather covering alpine ski. Like that's to be expected. But it is twice now that I have been stuck in a snowmageddon in soccer. Like it was back in, I think it was 2021. It was the World Cup qualifiers in Edmonton, right? The Ice Teca. So I was there for that, where Canada, ended up having that really big win over Mexico and everything. And then the Canadian Premier League final on the weekend in Ottawa, where, here we are, we get dumped on. It was an absolute blizzard. Some of the videos that I posted, like you can't even see the players. When snow comes at you and it's just mesmerizing. Yeah. And I loved how our producer was like, you have a tent, you're going to be covered. So we sit there. Problem is, we all know as Canadians and living in this weather, the tent means nothing when the wind is blowing this way. So we had the wind blowing behind us. The guys, like all the snow was going down their jackets. Our desk was covered in snow. We were making little snowmen and we were snowball fights during the game. Like the entire set was covered. And I was like, how are these players playing? And then the kick you're referring to, David Rodriguez, and they even said, they're like, he's a guy from Mexico who moved to Texas, who's never played in the snow before and ended up having the game of his life. So it was like we got through it. Tommy Wheeldon Jr., the head coach of Cavalry, said it best. You came here expecting to watch a musical, but instead you're going to get an action movie. So it wasn't really the beautiful game. It was the frozen game, but it was still fun to be a part of.
Well, that reminds me of the Centennial Classic when Russ and I were covering the Red Wings and the Leafs. And
I was there, yeah.
Yes,
we were up there in this area where it just had plastic.
They said, here's your seats in the press box. And we're like, wait a second, where is it? Oh, it's outside. And we have a translucent tarp in front of us.
Yeah, we didn't stay there long.
We were sitting in the basement.
The Heritage Classic was colder. I'm just going to tell you that. I was there for that. That was cold.
That's an all-timer. I mean,
it is. But again, Edmonton in November. It was November. It's crazy.
Andy, speaking of basements, because they're getting close to it, and that it would be the Toronto Maple Leafs, because after winning 3 games in a row in November, and people thinking, okay, they've gotten past this 500, settling in post-Marner situation. They win 3 games in a row, even though one of them was a game that they were basically asleep for 2 periods and then came back and beat Pittsburgh 4-3. Everybody thought maybe they're past it. And then the Boston Bruins, they just bring back bad memories for the Leafs. They, give up 2 goals in 38 seconds. They lose 5-3 on Saturday. They play terribly against Carolina, get outshot 22-2 in the 3rd period and lose 5-4. And then that atrocity at TD Garden, the House of Horrors. If it isn't the KeyBank Center in Buffalo, the other House of Horrors is the TD Garden in Boston. And they let their captain get hurt. Their goalie goes down.
How did they let a player get hurt, Mike? Come on.
Well, Russ, they don't. They never respond. They're never proactive. They're always retaliating after somebody gets hurt. They've never been a proactive team. I mean, the only time I ever remember them being proactive is when they had Wendell Clark and Darcy Tucker in the late 90s and early 2000s. That's a long time ago. I mean, I remember it because I'm old.
Andy,
look, Nikita Zadorov took it easy on Max Domi. No. He said Zadorov doesn't beat up his friends. He said that. So
he only beats up the best player on the ice. Okay, so Andy, after that long preamble, since we both have covered this team and know this team well, do you think that the Toronto market is panicking because this team is bad, or do you think this is something that it's recoverable?
I don't think anyone's panicking yet, because I think everyone still believes they have the pieces, they have the players to get it done. Obviously, if injuries start to pile up, if, Anthony Stolarz, who has been up and down, but still that's your guy, and Joseph Woll still needs to get his feet under him, then people might start to panic. And I think maybe heading into the calendar year as well, that'll probably be when people go, wait a second, because it's been a given that since 2016, since Austin Matthews has been a part of this team, they make the playoffs. And the conversation's always been get past the first round. So I think there's still a little bit of we're going to be okay. We'll make it. And let's see what we do in the playoffs. But as Craig Button always likes to remind me, making the playoffs isn't a given. You still have to fight for it every single year. But I do think there are cracks that are concerning people. And you can see it in Craig Berube. The fact that he's always coming out already looking kind of frustrated and exasperated, where it's like he doesn't understand why this team isn't committing themselves to the defensive side of the game. I do think they're still trying to adjust without Mitch Marner. You never want to say one player, you take him out and it can completely blow things up. But you already had a second line that didn't have consistency. You had Tavares and Nylander, but they were always trying to figure out who would be on that left wing. Then that first line was the only consistent line that you really had between Nyes, Matthews, and Marner. And like Marner was a spark plug. Say whatever you want. This guy, he ended up hitting the 100 points, but he was always around there. The 90 points you can guarantee. And obviously he's picked up where he left off in Vegas. So yeah, it matters. And it matters because of also what he was able to do on the power play. He was also a really good penalty killer. And I just don't think they have found themselves with him gone. Austin Matthews in particular. But of course you would say, if you're the captain and you're making that kind of money, you got to figure out a way to motivate yourself. So I understand that argument too. So a lot of people are like, we're okay, but man, some of these things don't make sense and they need to fix themselves. It doesn't help when Tanev, your strongest defensive blue liner, now for the second time being injured. I think Stolar is getting a little bit exposed because he played the most he played last year. People are going to figure you out. Hi, that's why it's called the NHL.
He's not a number one. He's just not a number one.
Right.
I get it because he's playing the most he's ever played. And this is where you get exposed. So I think there's a lot that's happening for the Leafs, but Berube kind of has to figure out a way to get them to listen to him. And it's not good. I mean, their 3 losses, they've allowed like 5 goals in all of them. So it's clear that they have a problem defensively. But I'm like, for me, if this group doesn't know that by now, how to play the defensive side of the game, we got problems because they're getting paid well, right? Like, this isn't a rebuild. These are guys who should be able to figure it out. They're getting paid like they should be able to figure it out. So it is concerning, but I don't think anyone's like, blow it up, we're having a meltdown. So
I'll read my column because
you having a meltdown? Are you already freaking out?
What month? I'm sorry. What month is this?
Yes. Yes. So let's talk about the Calgary team because, I thought they were going to be competitive this year. I thought they'd be good. I don't know. Is the Rasmus Anderson situation? Do you think that's dragging them down? Do you think they should just try and trade him, or you think it's just, hey, the team's just not as good as anybody thought they were?
Yeah, and I think what's a little unfair is because they played beyond their expectations last year. And a lot of that had to do with Dustin Wolf. Going back to, again, what I just said about a goalie. He came out, I'll still give him credit, good goalie, but he caught the league by surprise. Second year, he ain't going to do that. So, a lot of their success last year came from their goaltending. Wolf was the main one, but even when Vladar went in, he played well. So they had a really good goalie tandem. And I think it gave people the impression that they were better than they were or they are. Obviously, they missed the playoffs still last year. And I think now that people have figured out Wolf, we're probably seeing this year what we thought we were going to see last year. So is it still disappointing? Without a doubt. Like I've spoken to Nazem Kadri, even last year when they were on that incredible run, and he kind of had a chip on his shoulder, and I appreciate it because I know a lot of people are saying we might make the playoffs in a year where we weren't supposed to, but we always believed we would make it. So there's, a little bit of that, I'm like, yeah, bro, but let's just be real here.
Do you think he believes he's going to get traded though? Because he's kind of it seems like he's
already fit himself with blue, blanc, and rouge. You know that. His dad is a Canadiens fan. He wants to go to the Habs. So can
you imagine?
His dad, yep.
I mean, it does seem like he's going to go somewhere, Andy. It does.
Oh, no, for sure. I think he's going to go somewhere. I still find that kind of interesting. And I get it. You'll always go where the fit is. And I know this isn't like the 1980s, but there's always a part of me where it's like, if you were a Leaf, can you be a Hab? And if you were a Hab, can you be a Leaf? There's still a little bit of like, that's just weird.
Ask Josh Georges.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to be disrespectful to Josh Georges, but when he came out and said that he would never go to the Leafs because he played for the Habs, I'm like, it's okay, bro. Like, it's not a status of like
he can be a disrespectful player anyhow, so there's no disrespect.
I'm not gonna go to the Leafs, but I am gonna go to the Buffalo Sabres.
If I'm not mistaken, Anthony, didn't Josh Georges have a fight with somebody from the Flyers coming out of the locker room? Like he came back out of the locker room with no shoes on or whatever and had a fight in the hallway? I believe that was Josh George.
Vaguely remember. I just don't remember the player from the Flyers. Who
Right.
He fought Lauren Hart, and she
but this is after the game. They're like, they went to the locker rooms and he came out to fight somebody.
Oh my God. Well, yeah. So there we go. Josh George's. But I do find to me, it's just so, it would be so fascinating from a media perspective. That's storytelling. That's like for the ages. I love that. But man, that'll be so weird that if you go and play for the Habs when you were drafted by the Leafs, you were a pretty significant player for the Leafs. Ooh,
and you cost the Leafs 2 playoff rounds.
See, so many stories there. But yes, do I think Kadri? I mean, yeah, he's the bigger name. He is somebody who can still produce. He's somebody who's become a leader. I think anyone would want him for sure. So the Calgary Flames kind of have to figure out where they're going, because whatever pieces they have in place now, it's not working.
And he just kind of shifting a little bit to the team that I cover, the Philadelphia Flyers. Obviously, this year, you've had obviously opportunities during Rick Tocchet's era in Vancouver to kind of see how his teams operate. Looking at what you saw him when he was coaching in Vancouver versus what you're seeing, albeit in a small sample so far with Philadelphia, what are some things, some commonalities or some differences that you're seeing between those two bodies of work so far?
I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they've shored up defensively in a really big way. I mean, he's a hard-nosed kind of guy. He's a former Flyer. He gets the grit as well. He likes that. He brought that to Vancouver. I think, obviously when you have a guy like Quinn Hughes, sometimes you just got to let him go. And I think his final year there, it's really hard to judge what he was able to do with Vancouver, just with Thatcher Demko not being 100% either. And then the drama that nobody really it was like Voldemort, he who shall not be named, the drama that shall not be named. And we're like, guys, we know exactly what's going on in that room between Pettersson and JT Miller. And
JT Miller just protested way too much. He just did.
He did. Although I do think Miller was more of a Rick Tocchet type of player.
Oh, absolutely.
Pettersson had the deal. Right. And they had to, back him and have faith in him. But I think, what Tocchet's doing, you look at their numbers. So they need to turn it around offensively. I think they're at the bottom when it comes to shots on goal and goals for.
Yes.
And even their power play is kind of middle of the pack. But yet on the other side of it, and that's okay, because you have to start with the foundation, which everyone always tells you is defense, right? Their goals against, they don't allow that many. I think they've allowed the third least. Their PK is right up there as well. Shots, they have minimized a lot of that on the defensive side of things. Now it kind of stinks that Tippett isn't scoring, Michkov's coming out with that sophomore slump, although Zegras is looking pretty phenomenal. So I don't think it helps that guys that are we expected to have really strong starts offensively aren't. But I think the reason why I believe they're sitting in that second wildcard spot, the reason why they're even in a competitive position right now is because he is getting them to commit to the defensive side of the game. That is such a Rick Tocchet style. So I think the future is very bright for the Flyers under Rick Tocchet.
Okay, so I have a bonus food question here. We'll go around the horn here and see what your favorite pasta is. So I'll go first. Okay. I'm going to say penne because I feel like spaghetti is just passe. It's I don't know, everybody had spaghetti too much as a little kid. So I feel like spaghetti, I try and stay away from it, honestly.
Well, spaghetti 9 or spaghetti 11, because there's a thin spaghetti.
And it doesn't matter, Mike. I'll eat it once in a while.
Person who worked in a grocery,
it doesn't really matter if it's 9 or 11. It does. Oh, really? You're gonna flip me off in Italian? Right.
It's like pasta legidara. What kind of spaghetti are we talking about here?
Bucatini. All right, Anthony, you go. What's your favorite pasta?
You know what? I've always, and I grew up with it, but gnocchi was always a favorite.
Oh, gnocchi, yeah. I like gnocchi. Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I like pretty much most kinds. And I've always been partial to bow tie here and there,
Okay.
Throwing that into the mix. But I would say gnocchi is probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Mike?
I'm a bucatini guy. I like it. You can have it with spaghetti sauce. You can have it with sauce, or you can have it as part of a carbonara. But that's my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Andy?
So I mean gnocchi without fail. Whenever somebody
But is it cheese or potato? See, I like the potato.
Oh no, the potato.
Okay.
And then when people whenever people recommend an Italian restaurant to go to in whatever city, that will always be what I order, because you get to check out the pasta, the dough that they use, and you get to check out the sauce. So you hang out both to see if they're legit Italian. But just to be different, I'll go a little thicker. I'll go pappardelle. I like like that is because that can go with so many things, so many dishes because it laps up the sauce. Whether you want to do a tomato sauce, a pesto, you can even do like sometimes they have that in the nice like kind of like like a fish type of thing. You can do it in that. So I like a pappardelle as well.
Pappardelle is actually what I had most recent Italian restaurant that we went to. It was pappardelle was what I ordered.
And don't listen to anybody when it comes to like Italian restaurants in Buffalo. Everybody will say chefs because it's close to the lake.
Chefs,
it's terrible. I'm sorry guys. I'll give you a recommendation off the air.
I'll be in Buffalo in a couple of weeks. I'm going to need that.
I know.
Yeah,
I mean,
Frank Sinatra died eating chefs. I mean,
wow. Well, Andy, since
I thought Mike was the clown.
Wow.
Was the
Since you're going to be in town in a couple of weeks, I'm going to have you sign my book, which I went out and got. Now, I have read about half of it, and I want you to relay because I laughed out loud when I heard the Colin Patterson story. Because now, go. I'm just going to give it to you there. Just give it to you.
So, I mean, thank you so much for obviously even picking up the book and reading. Appreciate it. There's a lot of stories I share in there about me. I wanted people to get to know me, my experiences. I try to bestow some pearls of wisdom to young people who want to get into the industry. Obviously, a lot of women, but it was really important for me to share fun stories that I've also, had throughout my career and the people who have been incredible to me. But that story you're referring to is I had this awesome opportunity to go to Afghanistan. Not awesome to go to a war zone, but we brought the Stanley Cup. We brought some former players. We brought a band with us as well, default, just to be able to cheer up the troops. And that is an experience that sometimes it's so difficult to put into words because it's so incredible to see these men and women, sacrificing everything for our freedoms and to give them a little bit of joy, like to see what the Stanley Cup meant to them and how that just lit up their faces. I was like, oh my goodness, right? Like doing a little bit of something to cheer up the troops. And obviously guys who had won the Stanley Cup brought their Stanley Cup rings, Colin Patterson being one of them, part of the Calgary Flames. And me, like, listen, I'm in sports because I'm a super fan, right? I love sports. I love hockey. Mm-hmm. So I saw his ring and I said, oh, can I look at it? And this is what I love about anyone who's actually won anything. Hockey players are awesome. Olympians are awesome. They just give you their medals or give you their rings because that's what brings them joy. They're like, I won this. Here, put it around your neck or put it on your finger, right? Like we want you to wear this and feel the joy because we won this for you, the fans, the community. So he's like, here, put it on. But of course his ring is like 10 times my finger. So the whole time that I had it on, I was like squeezing these two fingers together. Basically, my whole hand was like a mitten, so I wouldn't lose it.
See, now if you would have tried on Pete Stemkowski's '67 Leafs ring, it's like a pinky ring. I sent a picture of it. I sent a picture of it to Mike when he was in the press box.
It would have been perfect for me then.
It's the closest I'll ever get to seeing a Leafs ring.
Yeah. Oh, geez. What is that? What ring is that? What does that look like? Do we need to polish it off?
It's really small.
So I'll kind of give you the Coles notes, but basically after running around Kandahar airfield all day, visiting all the different, sections of troops, we had to hurry up and get dressed because we were also there and I was hosting ball hockey games between the NHL alumni and the soldiers. So right away I'm getting dressed, whatever. I throw my gear down and all this kind of stuff. And then Colin walks by me. He's like, Andy, when you get a chance after we're ready, we hop on the bus. I'm going to need that ring back. I went, oh my God, the ring's gone. It's gone. And I can't for the life of me remember where it would have fallen off. So it's this whole panic of like, I lost a Stanley Cup ring in the desert and you cannot find anything in the desert. And by the way, everything was covered in sand. I was eating sand. I was drinking sand. I was sneezing sand. And I'm like, if that thing fell on the ground, it's gone. Like never to be found again. And I won't give away too much, but it was found. Okay. I gave it back to him. But what's funny, Mike, is I never shared with him.
I know.
That I did. So if he ever reads the book or if anyone shares this story with him, he's now going to look at that ring and go, oh, I almost lost you. Thanks to Andy Petrillo. So the book is the first time I've confessed to almost losing that ring.
There you go. Listen, Andy, thanks.
Sorry, Ross.
Yep.
Andy, I want to thank you for being on the show, and I wanted to relay this quickly because you got your start at, I believe it was at Leafs TV. It was around 2007, 2008, around
2006, I joined them. Yeah.
2006. Okay. So 2007, a producer at Leafs TV asked me to do a man on the street for the opening of the 2007 season. When this was after the Sabres had lost to Carolina, the Leafs opened the season in Buffalo. So they asked me to put on a Leafs jersey, go into Pearl Street Brewery and Grill with a Leafs TV microphone, and interview people as they're eating lunch, asking them what they think about the Leafs, what they think about the Sabres. I mean, I wanted to get into media so bad that I made a complete and utter fool of myself. Like, this guy's eating a thing of chicken wings. I'm sticking the microphone in his face. So what do you think of this? And we're interviewing people as they're driving by. They stop in the middle of traffic and they're sticking the microphone in the
those are called street. I hate streeters. Streeters are the worst. I hate them.
Well, the most embarrassing thing was, at the end of it, they have you do the walk and talk, like toward the camera, and I'm wearing the Leaf jersey and I have the microphone in my hand and I'm trying to concentrate on what I'm saying. And I have the video on YouTube. I'm going to put it in the link just to have, so everybody can laugh at it. I've got my hand in my pocket as I'm walking, and I don't know this. And whoever was filming didn't tell me. And I look like a complete jackass. And this is the first time I've been on camera. And the second time, because Simon Dingley from CBC came down in '99 and interviewed me in this room with a Leaf screensaver on my computer to make me look like a complete jackass. So, I mean, anything having to do with the Leafs and me on TV just exposed me being just terrible.
Well, see, I thought, first of all, I don't hate like people, but streeters are the worst because it's like you got to stop somebody and be like, oh, do you mind? And it's like such an awkward exchange. So I feel that because I just hate approaching strangers. Secondly, I thought you were going to say your hand was in your pocket while you had a microphone in the other and you tripped and fell, because that's always a recipe for disaster.
I'm surprised I didn't.
But hand in the pocket, full body shot can also look very awkward. You have to be aware of these things, and I cannot wait to see this video. I'm going to take a look at it.
Listen, this is the first time I'm hearing this, Andy, so I am absolutely going to have a field day with this thing.
Yes.
Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are, Anthony.
I think Mike has shown me this video, and I've laughed.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have everybody laugh. It's gonna make you just guffaw. But anyway, Andy, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And we recommend getting Just Call Me Andy.
Yeah, congrats on the book.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care.
All right. So we'll do some quick team reports here. We'll go a little over. Ant, we'll start with the Flyers. Tyson Forster is back tonight.
Yep.
Because Rick Tocchet's old school, I knew he was going to sit Gurbankin and put in Delorier because there was a fight the other night with Trent Frederick and Olivia Rodriguez. So, but the problem is you're playing the Oilers. Now you've slowed up your team, and I don't know how that's going to actually work out for them.
You're going to have to lean on. You're going to have to lean on. It's going to be three. It's going to be three lines. You're going to be trying to match up here with the Oilers. So, that being said, the Oilers have obviously had their struggles too. Obviously, I just got off before the show. I was talking with Edmonton Sports Talk about and their biggest concern obviously is Edmonton's been struggling on the power play and how Philadelphia's PK has been
really good.
Has been really, really, really good. So, I anticipate this one's going to be. I think this is going to be a close one. I think this. It's one of those games where Philly, when they get opponents like this, they sometimes play up to their opposition in this case. But it does feel like Edmonton really kind of needs this one too.
They do.
So it's going to be a fascinating game to watch tonight for sure.
Yeah, and Skinner just won a game in overtime, so he goes up and down. But at some point, you figure he's going to level off. So yeah, I think this will be an interesting game for sure. Mike, with the Leafs, look, I don't blame Craig Berube. I don't. He's dealt the lineup he's dealt. I understand that it's a tough offseason when you're trying to fill in for Mitch Marner, but I didn't love a lot of the moves Brad Treliving made. At some point, they're probably going to need a fix at the trade deadline. I think that's the way this season's going to go. I think they're going to be treading water until the trade deadline.
Well, Russ, the problem is that a lot of the moves that were made by Brad Treliving were done with the say-so of Craig Berube. I mean, they didn't go out and get Dakota Joshua just out of oh, he's out there. I mean, Dakota Joshua came up after the Leafs didn't sign him, came up in the St. Louis organization and played for Berube briefly and fits sort of the physical profile that Berube was looking for. They wanted to get bigger. They wanted to get longer. He had, what they thought was a more defensively responsible blue line. They add Nick Waugh. They add now Michelli was supposed to be the playmaking guy who would maybe fill in some of the points that Marner didn't score. But really, I mean, the makeup of this team has to do a lot with Berube. And the problem is now a lot of people are saying, that this team has tuned him out, that Berube wants them to play, Berube style hockey. And this is a team that, had, again, Sheldon Keefe, they pushed back against, and he was a player's coach. So are they going to listen to, this is Nylander and Matthews and Tavares. They're not rough and tumble guys.
Well, here's what I would say. All right. So if Berube had a big say-so in the offseason, he gets no say-so at the trade deadline, and they need to actually get what they need. And if that means, then you have to make some tough trades, then you're going to have to make some tough trades and maybe give up something to get something.
Well, it's funny because Cam Robinson, our friend, was reporting something that I've been talking about for a month about Steven Stamkos. And is Steven Stamkos what is missing right now from the Leafs?
Well, I don't think so. I think he's kind of washed.
Well, the thing is, if they're asking him to come in and be another center, yes, he can't do it. Or if you're asking him to play on the wing with Matthews or Tavares, I think he can still do that, but it's going to have to be at a
but you know what? Here's the problem. If you have him playing with Tavares, how slow is that line now? And Tavares does well for himself. No doubt. And if they get the puck in their end, they'll be okay. But defensively, they're going to be a little challenged.
Yeah, you can't put Nylander with that line. Then it'll be nobody playing defense. But yeah. So
all right, that's interesting. And the Sabres, Mike. The Sabres are sabering.
Well, somebody joked, and I won't say who, but somebody joked that was KeyBank Center built on an Indian burial ground, because the way this team, in terms of their luck, I mean, a lot of things are by design. A lot of things have been done.
Was that Poltergeist? Was that
absolutely Poltergeist?
Yeah. But okay. I mean, okay, so Yuri Kulich is out what they think is an inner ear infection. It turns out to be a blood clot. He's going to be out for weeks, maybe months. You don't know. Jason Zucker is out with what everybody thinks is the flu. He loses 9 pounds, or loses over 10 pounds. He hadn't eaten in 9 days. He was put on the IR. So this on top of Josh Norris getting hurt in the first game, and all the other things.
This is like the baddest news bears.
You
can't top this.
And the thing is, this was a team that even with everybody healthy was thin.
Yeah.
Where people thought that the bottom six was thin, or the blue line past the top three were thin. And now they've lost. They're playing right now without 5 forwards, without Zucker, Benson, Danforth, Norris, and Kulich.
But they heard from McGillney, so that was good.
Yeah, and Rasmus Dahlin is, and completely understandably, is back home in Sweden with his fiance. Yes. And he's going to be back soon, but he went back and
he's skating over there. So at least
skating over there with Frölunda, but they need him on the ice. And even when he was there, Russ, he wasn't there. He was -11. He was playing terribly. So hopefully, things are a little straightened out. He comes back and he plays like Rasmus Dahlin.
So they're firmly in the McKenna sweepstakes.
I mean, that's the way it looks right now. I mean, they're in game. They've played 1 game of their 4-game road trip. They lost in Carolina. They're playing Utah, Colorado, and Detroit. They lose all 4. Yes, they're in the McKenna. They're in last place, probably in the league.
Yeah, and I want to point out with all this stuff I see online about Gavin McKenna. He's 17. He's playing against 21-year-olds. He's playing over 22 minutes a game. He's over a point per game. If a team passes on him first overall, that's on them. And I'm just saying, I don't want to hear all this other stuff. People are looking way too deep into what a 17-year-old is doing to try and play up in age in a very tough league, which, by the way, Gavin McKenna has always done that. But I'm talking about it because I'm probably going to write about it at some point for Hockey Hot Stove because I've come aboard. And so, yeah, once a week, I will put up some stuff. My list probably will not come out until after the World Juniors. I just feel firmly about that. I feel like that's when, the best time, that's the, best time to do it. And then I'll put them out pretty regularly after that. But I'll put out some player profiles and things like that. So it'll all be prospect related.
We are extremely excited to have you on board, Russ.
Well, thanks. Mike, nothing?
I'm not sure my life will recover from this.
Yeah, well, you'll recover. You and your bucatini or whatever the hell you eat. All right. That's it. That's it for Off the Post. We'll catch everybody next time.
Take care, everybody.